Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to be proceeding with our CAD. Now in this case, I want us to be looking at diagram number 1. I'm going to be looking at diagram number 1, and that's exactly what we want to be designing right here. And it looks almost similar to diagram number 4, actually in the steps that we're going to be executing to get the same diagram. It's not going to be really difficult, but we just need to get we're just going to be building it on the fundamentals that I've laid in drawing component number 4. And where are we going to start with? So before you start designing any component in CAD, we really need to lay out the steps that we're going to be executing to come up with a diagram. You really need to know what you're going to be carrying out, the steps in sequence of execution to get out the component. So that is a process. We can actually term it as a process plan. What are the processes that are going to be executing to draw a component? So when I look at component number 1, so before I actually go on to component number 1, let me also say that as you keep practicing these CAD diagrams, you're going to find out that you will need to get a process plan that has got the minimum steps. That will get the component drawn in minimum steps. One person can execute 5 steps to draw a diagram. One person can see it differently and execute 12 steps. That means that's a long way of doing things. We really want to get our component drawn or designed in the minimum possible steps. So it depends on how you view the component, and this is a skill that you're going to be generating as you keep practicing these diagrams, how to visualize and make sure that you come up with a process plan that has got the minimum steps. So I'm going to show you how I view this component and the steps that I can get or take to draw this component number 1. I will start by drawing a rectangular block of this component. I can start by drawing a rectangular block of this component, and using one of the sides, this side, I can cut out a rectangular strip on that component. Or not, I won't start with cutting out the rectangular strip, sorry. Using the top surface here, I can make this triangular component here, which I'm going to be cutting out to a distance of about 40 minus 30. I'll cut it to 40 minus 10, which is 30. And then once I have dissected or cut out this triangular component from the rectangular block, I will have to select the rear part of this rectangle, and then I'll make a central rectangle which I'm going to be cutting out like I did in the previous diagram. So these are the only 2 features that I'm going to be cutting out, and basically I'm going to be using the second method which I did in drawing component number 4, starting out with a rectangular block and cutting out some features. Alright, so without wasting much time, let's make this diagram. We can make this as a 50 by 40 rectangle from the front view, and then we'll cut out the respective features as will follow. So my ProE is opened. I'm going to make a new part, which is practice 3. Then I'll click OK, and then I'll select my millimeters. I'm going to be using millimeters and not inches, and I'll be directed to this window, which looks familiar now. So I'm going to be selecting the front plan, and then I'll be sketching this thing. So I'll be picking up some speed as I formulate the next concept, because the tools that I'm going to be using, they'll be looking familiar from now onwards. So I'll be selecting a rectangle to be designing, and then I'll get out of the command, try to modify the values using this option, and check regenerate, and then I'll get to the first dimension highlighted here in blue. If I still remember right, this must be a height of 40 millimeters. I'll get to this one, which is what? Let me double check. 50. And then I'll click OK. Now the rest must be easy. Now this must be 40 divided by 2, which is 20. And then the other one must be 25. 50 divided by 2. That's done. I'm happy. You click regenerate and OK. That's your rectangular block, which I'm going to be extruding to a distance of what? So let me see how this thing is extruding. And as expected, by default it adds material on one side of the block, and I want an extrusion distance of this amount. Where do I get this total side, which is 12 plus 12 plus 12? That is 36. So I'm going to be extruding on both sides. I want to make the front plane central. So on both sides of the plane, and extrusion distance of 36. And I'm happy with that. You can zoom if you want, but I'm happy. I know it will come as expected. So that's the thing. That's the rectangular block that I'm having here. So I can turn it up and down with my mouse. Alright, no problem. So I'm going to be selecting, I want to draw on top of this, on the top of this surface. I'm going to be designing this triangle that I will cut out. Alright, so let me get back into the sketch mode, where I'm going to be making a triangular cutout. Let me see. So it's going to be starting from this vertex to some distance here, and then to this vertex again. Sketch. So my triangle is utilizing some previously drawn edges of my rectangle, which is this part which is broken, and another one which is here which is broken. Let me see. It's not really broken. It won't appear broken until selected as a reference. So I'm going to be selecting this reference axis, this also as reference axis, this also as reference axis, and you can see them in your references here. Click OK and done. Alright, now let me make this triangle. We don't know how to make the triangular two-dimensional shapes using the line option. So this is the point which I want. I'm going to be drawing a line up to here, and then up to this vertex, and then it will close. Then I'll get out of the command by clicking the wheel of the mouse. It gives me an angle. I don't want to calculate any angle, so that means I need to define my own dimension. This one is already known because it is in line with the rectangle that I have from the top surface right there. So I'll define the length of this part of the rectangle, of the triangle here. Then with the wheel of the mouse, I'll click this bottom part. Yes, so I'll click OK. So once selected OK, the angle which had been automatically assigned by the software, it gives way to our own dimensions in that manner. Now, what is the length here of the triangle? So the length of the triangle is 50 minus 20, which is 30. So that's 30 right there. If I'm happy with the triangle, I'll click done. So what's next? As your guess is good as mine, we are going to be making an extrusion cut. Extrude. and then I'll try to twist this component to see how it is extruding. It is adding material, which is not what I want. So I want it to remove material and in the right direction. Here, what is the extrusion? What is the extrusion cut distance? Check the diagram again. This is 40 minus 10, so that is 30. So that's it. Let's try to zoom before we select OK. I think that's it. That's the component that we want. I'll click done. So the first feature has been made. Now let's rotate this component, the rectangular component, and select this side, because I'm going to be sketching on this side now. And then I'll sketch this component. I'm going to be making a rectangular two-dimensional feature here, which I'm going to be cutting out. What are the dimensions of this feature? It is 12 by 10. 12 horizontal and 10 the depth, or 12 being the breadth and 10 being the depth. Sketch again. I'm gonna be, so before I select the rectangle, let me make this feature. So if you try to select this rectangle and you want to make this feature, it won't be snapped to the side or the reference side that you want. So first of all, you need to select some references, which is broken here like that, and click OK and close. Select back this rectangular feature. Now once you get to this, it will quickly snap. Once you get to the reference axis, your mouse will be snapped to that edge or to that reference part, and then I'll select that to make the rectangle. Yes, that's a rectangle right there. I'll click OK. So we said, let me first start with this one. No, but before I start with that, let me escape it. Yes. This dimension here has been automatically assigned by the computer. Let me see if I can calculate that easily. I don't want to calculate it, so I want to put my own dimension. You can calculate it, but I don't want to calculate it. It looks a little bit tedious in calculation. So what I want to define is the distance here to here, because I know it's going to be half of that, half of 12, which is 6. So I click OK. Once I select that, this automatically assigned dimension will give way, and I can dimension my rectangle component as follows. This is 12, and this is 10, and this is 6. Now it has been placed centrally. If I'm happy with that, I'll click done and go back to the extrusion tool to cut out the material, which you know by now. We are removing material in the correct direction. Now you can put any distance right here, because we don't know this distance. So I can put it as what? I think this distance to here was what? Maybe you can put it as 50, no problem. You just need to make sure that it cuts this thing throughout. Yep, I think it is cutting throughout, as you can see by zooming in, and click done when you are happy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the component number 1 that we are required to design. Component number 1, we have successfully made it. Okay, you have to follow the steps that I've taken to make sure that you get the same component in the minimum time. Now, in the next tutorial, I'm going to be designing component number 2. So let me see you there.